Welcome back, everybody. Ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely, always ready to dig in.
Great. Today we're looking at Ben Mezrich's Bitcoin Billionaires.
The Winklevoss twins and their Bitcoin adventures. Quite a story.
It really is. It's like their second acts, after the whole Facebook thing.
Right, huge settlement, but they felt cheated. The book really dives into that.
Yeah, it wasn't just about the money. It was a recognition. They felt they deserved more credit for the idea. But hey, these guys were Olympic rowers. They thrive on competition.
Absolutely. So you could say they were looking for a new challenge, right? Something big to conquer.
Makes you wonder if Bitcoin was more about proving themselves than the money itself.
Possibly. Now picture this. It's 2012. The twins are in Ibiza. They've been trying to break into the Silicon Valley scene, but
But Winklevoss money was almost toxic. Still too much baggage from the Facebook lawsuit.
exactly. Investors were hesitant, so they're in Ibiza and bump into this guy, David Azar.
And Azar drops the Bitcoin bomb. What was their reaction? I mean, Bitcoin was still pretty fringe back then.
Pure skepticism. Mezrich describes the scene where they're like, Bitcoin has no intrinsic value. They even use that analogy from Cliffhanger, the movie.
You mean the one about burning cash for warmth if you're stranded?
That's the one. They saw Bitcoin as equally useless. But Azar had a secret weapon.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Who was this secret weapon?
Eric Voorhees. Hardcore Bitcoin evangelist, serious libertarian. He really opened their eyes to the potential of Bitcoin, this idea of decentralization, a currency free from government control.
So it wasn't just about getting rich, it was a philosophical thing, too.
Definitely. Voorhees planted the seed, got them thinking. Of course, they did their homework. They read Satoshi's white paper, devoured everything they could find about this new technology.
And let's not forget, this was the wild west of Bitcoin. No regulations. Anyone could set up shop.
Absolutely. Think the internet in the 90s, everything was new, untested, moving so fast. Brilliant minds, shady characters, tons of risk.
And then you have Charlie Shrem, this young guy running his Bitcoin exchange BitInstant, basically from his mom's basement.
Classic startup story, right. But what drew the twins to him? Why invest in this kid?
Well, remember that competitive spirit? They were looking for the rocket ship, the next big thing.
And BitInstant promised simplicity, accessibility. It could potentially bring Bitcoin to the masses.
Sounds tempting, but were there any red flags?
Oh, yeah. Charlie was known for his partying, kind of a chaotic lifestyle. Definitely clashed with the twins' more disciplined approach.
And then there's Roger Ver, another early Bitcoin investor, huge libertarian. He played a big role too, right?
Absolutely. Ver was deeply passionate about Bitcoin, but vehemently opposed to any regulation, saw it as a threat to freedom.
So you have these competing philosophies.
Yeah.
The twins, cautious, seeking legitimacy, and Ver pushing for a completely hands-off approach, bound to create some tension.
Oh, yeah. But before that tension really explodes, a real-world event shakes things up. The 2013 Cyprus banking crisis.
Now, this is a turning point for Bitcoin, right? What exactly happened in Cyprus? Why was it so significant?
Imagine waking up and the government's taken a chunk of your savings to bail out their banks. That's Cyprus. People were terrified. Their trust in traditional finance was shattered.
So they're panicking, losing faith in banks. How does this connect to Bitcoin?
For the twins, it was a validation. Bitcoin, decentralized, transparent. It was the answer. The Cyprus crisis became a powerful argument for an alternative system.
So this solidified their belief in Bitcoin. But what did they do? How did they capitalize on this momentum?
That's where things get interesting. They decided to go public with their Bitcoin holdings, and not in a subtle way.
Whoa, hold on. We're out of time for this part of our deep dive, but we'll be back to unpack that bombshell in part 2. Stay tuned. Okay, so the Cyprus banking crisis just happened, and the Winklevoss twins are feeling pretty good about their Bitcoin investment. They sense an opportunity here.
Right. It's like a wake-up call for the world. People are realizing, hey, maybe our money isn't so safe in the banks after all.
And the twins see this as a chance to really push Bitcoin into the mainstream. So they go public with their holdings. But what does that even mean?
It was a full-on media blitz. The New York Times, front page, trending on Yahoo, right alongside Johnny Depp. They used their fame, the good and the bad, to shine a spotlight on Bitcoin.
Clever strategy. They're using their notoriety to legitimize this whole cryptocurrency thing.
Exactly, but it was risky. The libertarian wing of the Bitcoin community, those who hated any kind of regulation, they weren't happy.
Especially Roger Ver. I bet he had a few things to say about it.
Oh, he was furious. He saw any connection to Wall Street or traditional media as a betrayal of Bitcoin's core principles. He thought regulation would kill innovation.
So while all this is going on, the twins are also working on the Winklevoss Bitcoin Trust, the Coin ETF. Can you explain what an ETF is and why this was such a big deal?
Sure, an ETF, or exchange traded fund, is basically a basket of assets you can buy and sell like a regular stock. The idea was to make it super easy for anyone to invest in Bitcoin.
Democratizing access so you don't need to be a tech whiz to get involved.
Exactly. But the SEC, the guys who regulate financial markets, they were super cautious about Bitcoin. It took years of legal battles and lobbying before the Coin ETF finally got approved.
Talk about a long game. But speaking of battles, remember Charlie Shrem and BitInstant? He gets hit with money laundering charges.
Oh. Yeah, and it all ties back to Silk Road, this infamous online black market where people used Bitcoin for all sorts of illegal activities.
The FBI shut it down, arrested the mastermind, Ross Ulbricht, a.k.a. the Dread Pirate Roberts. It was huge news.
And Charlie, because he was facilitating Bitcoin transactions, he got caught up in the mess. It was a huge setback for the twins.
I can't even imagine. Their CEO's facing jail time, Bitcoin is being demonized in the media, their whole push for legitimacy takes a hit.
It was a defining moment. They could have walked away, licked their wounds, but they didn't.
What did they do?
They doubled down. While Charlie was doing his time, they testified before Congress, advocated for a balanced approach to cryptocurrency regulation. They knew Bitcoin needed rules to thrive.
So they're fighting for Bitcoin's future, even when it seems like everything's falling apart. And then Mezrich throws in this crazy story about Burning Man.
Oh yeah, Burning Man, the art festival in the desert.
What were they doing there? Seems a bit out of character.
Right. But it's Burning Man, all about self-expression and letting go. And who do they bump into? Dustin Moskovitz.
No way! One of the Facebook co-founders, the guy they sued.
The one and only. And instead of awkwardness, Moskovitz goes right up to Cameron and gives him a hug, even invites them to a grilled cheese party.
A grilled cheese party. Did they finally make peace with Zuckerberg over melted cheddar?
They didn't end up going, but the fact that Moskovitz reached out is huge. It's like a symbolic reconciliation. The twins are finally moving on from the Facebook drama.
It's a powerful image. So they're battling for Bitcoin, mending fences with their past, and partying in the desert. Sounds like they're finding their stride. But what are they actually building?
Well, that's a story for part 3 of our deep dive. Let's just say they're putting their money where their mouth is, building a platform that could revolutionize finance.
We're back for the final part of our deep dive. Can you believe how much ground we've covered with the Winklevoss twins?
It's been wild, hasn't it? Facebook, Olympic rowing, and now Bitcoin pioneers. Who would have guessed?
Seriously.
Yeah.
Last we left off, they were at this turning point, facing challenges left and right, but they were also building something new.
Right. While Charlie Shrem was dealing with the legal fallout, the twins were busy creating Gemini, their own cryptocurrency exchange.
Gemini. It's such a big name now. But back then, it was a huge risk, right? What made Gemini different from the Wild West exchanges like BitInstant?
Well, they learned a lot from that whole experience. They saw how risky it was without regulation, all the potential for scams and manipulation.
So Gemini was built on transparency, security, playing by the rules, trying to bridge that gap between traditional finance and this new crypto world.
Exactly. They wanted to legitimize Bitcoin, make it more appealing to everyday investors, even institutions. But not everyone loved the idea.
Yeah, those hardcore libertarians who believe in zero government intervention, they weren't happy.
Big time. They saw regulation as a threat to Bitcoin's freedom, but the twins believed it was essential for long-term success.
And, looking at Bitcoin today, a multi-trillion-dollar asset class.
Yeah.
Maybe they had a point. Regulation brought more stability, attracted bigger players.
Absolutely. It allowed Bitcoin to grow beyond those early adopters, those tech-savvy folks. But the twins didn't just build Gemini, they kept pushing for broader acceptance.
Testifying before Congress, right? Trying to educate lawmakers about this complex technology and advocate for sensible regulations.
Yeah, they became the face of the industry in a lot of ways. Their unique story, their background, it gave them a lot of credibility.
It's kind of ironic, isn't it? These guys who were once rivals to Mark Zuckerberg, fighting for control of Facebook, become champions for a decentralized technology that challenges the very systems Zuckerberg represents.
It's a funny twist, and it shows you how unpredictable the tech world is. Innovation can come from anywhere, and anyone can become an advocate for change.
So what's the Winklevoss twins' legacy when it comes to Bitcoin? What do you think their biggest impact has been?
They were pioneers. They had the guts to invest early on when it was still a fringe idea, and they fought hard to bring it into the mainstream. Their story is inspiring. It shows what's possible with ambition, resilience, and a belief in the power of technology. They weren't just along for the ride, they helped steer the ship.
And their impact is undeniable. Millions of people are using cryptocurrency now. It's changing how we think about money, about the future of finance. We can't ignore that.
It's a revolution that's still playing out. Who knows what the future holds for Bitcoin? But the Winklevoss twins definitely played a key role in getting us to where we are today.
So what's the big takeaway for our listeners today? Why should they care about this story?
It's a story about second chances, about finding redemption in unexpected places. It's about having a vision, even when everyone thinks you're crazy. And most of all, it's about how technology can change the world, often in ways we never could have predicted.
Well said. That wraps up our deep dive into Bitcoin billionaires, the Winklevoss twins' wild ride through the early days of Bitcoin, a roller coaster of ups and downs, innovations, and disruptions. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back soon to explore another fascinating corner of the world of ideas and technology.
Until then, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep diving deep.